Shalom and welcome. My name is Abiyah. I'm a digital nomad living full-time in my minivan traveling North America. And lately I have been chasing my history and visiting historical ancestral sites. In today's video, I am going to be addressing the question that I asked in my community tab about what's preventing you from doing van life. So we're going to talk a little bit about that in this particular video today. From the last video, as most of you know, I am back in St. Louis, Missouri. Why am I back in St. Louis, Missouri? Well, from my previous video on how to save money on gas, I'm decided to take my own advice to limit your traveling for right now. I do have some plans coming up in the future. My sister and my mom, they're both going to Dominican Republic next month. And I have to go to Atlanta to watch my nephews and niece, 3 babies, y'all, by myself. Oh, Lord help me. But I'm gonna go down there in June, mid-June, to watch the babies for about 5 days. And then after that, I had planned on going to Minnesota to go visit my son. And then from Minnesota, I was gonna go to North Dakota to visit my brother. So I do have some trips planned, but I think in the meantime, between time, I think I'm going to try and stay within my comfort zone right now in Missouri, in St. Louis, where I have family and friends that could be there for me at the drop of a dime. Gas is definitely the factor in that decision making for myself. So, yeah, so I got a lot of figuring out to do. And I know I stayed here in Missouri last summer because I went full-time in August 7th exactly. And I stayed in Missouri last summer. It was hot, definitely. So, and I did not want to stay here this summer, but it looks like I'm gonna have to stay here part of the summer this summer. Does that make any sense? To me it does. But because I have to limit my driving. I have to be careful where I'm going, what state I'm going to, how much gas is going to cost, considering that my income is not able to sustain the traveling that I was doing, put it like that, okay? But we'll talk about that in another whole video. But in this video, we're going to talk about fear. And I asked a question on my community page about, you know, like, who is interested in doing van life, and if you are, what is holding you back? And I tallied up all the responses, and from what I got, fear was the number one. And it made me start thinking, and it made me tune in to my own experience and some of the fears that I had going into this lifestyle. So your fear is not a bad thing. I want to change the perspective of fear, because fear is kind of like an intuition. Now there's different types of fears. Like, I'm afraid of bugs, okay? Versus I'm afraid to walk across the street, or I'm afraid to go to the store, or I'm afraid to go out, you know, do things like that. So there's different types of fears. But the fear when it comes to van life, I think from the responses that I received, a lot of the fears that you guys all have are very legit fears. You know, fear of dealing with the weather. You know, Missouri gets hot, and people who live in Arizona or Texas or down south, you know, It gets hot in the summertime. Even in the evening, it's pretty hot here in Missouri. So that's a fear that a lot of people have. The fear of getting the knock on your door, the fear of a major vehicle breakdown. People fear that. The fear of not knowing a safe place to park and rest overnight. So those are legitimate fears. But we're going to talk about those fears today, because I think that those fears are there for you to learn how to come up with a strategy and a plan for those type of scenarios that could possibly happen. So the definition that I wrote down for fear is an emotion, and it helps us to identify and avoid threats to our safety. Fear helps us to make decisions in our life. When I first started van life for myself in St. Louis, Missouri, I was afraid of my car getting broken into, something happening to me while I'm out here on the streets, because I live in a high crime state. Now, that's not a fear to punk away from, because to me, that's a legitimate fear. However, I did not allow that fear to prevent me from still doing what I want to do. You get what I'm saying? I figured out a way where how can I get what I want and combat this fear, face this fear, challenge this fear, and still get what I want, and not allow that fear to control or make a decision in my life to that manner to where I don't go get what I want. So what I did was, okay, yeah, St. Louis is a high crime, St. Louis City is a high crime state. That's why you will never catch me vanning or camping in St. Louis City. Okay? You won't find me. Oops, I thought it was something. You won't find me there. So I don't go to that place. Instead, I found other places outside on the skirts of St. Louis City to do my vanning, to live my life. I found during the daytime there, like I am here now, I am at a city park, a state park. I'm parked over here in the shade, so my car don't get too hot and I don't get too hot. It's quiet. As you can tell, I'm the only one on this whole little strip right here, which makes filming great. And I have several different places that I switch up and go to. And within all the places that I chill out or I go to here in my hometown, they're not that far away from each other. So it keeps me in a certain area where I can stay, feel safe, and I don't have to do a lot of traveling to where I'm spending a lot of money on gas right now, because gas is a killer. Okay, so I was able to deal with that fear and work around that fear and still be able to get what I want. And the other fear that I had, even in the outskirts of where I was stealth camping. I spent months spending the night at like Love's, gas station, rest stops, and places like that. And I really wanted to combat that fear that I had of stealth camping in a neighborhood. I don't know if it was a fear and a worry. I think it was a little bit of both. I was afraid something would happen to me, and then I was worried that someone would break in my car or I would get a knock. I was worried about what people would think of me if they happened to see me getting out my car, how would I handle that situation, and then, it took a while to have my first stealth camping experience. But on the flip side, I made sure that the place I chose was safe, decent neighborhood. I made sure that wherever I was not in front of someone's house or in front of someone's window. I was in their neighborhood. I made sure that I was quiet. I made sure that I got there only during the time that it was rest time. So I wouldn't camp there like all day. I would go be somewhere else all day, and then in the evening I knew where I was gonna sleep that night. So in the evening I drove over to the area I chose and parked, and everything was all ready for the evening, and nothing happened. Nothing happened through the whole entire night. I woke up and I was like, I was afraid of that. I was worried. Let me do that again. So, once you experience, you can get rid of fear through experience. So, several times of stealth camping, now I can pretty much almost, go to any state I want to and stealth camp. I had experience in it. I know what I'm comfortable with. I know what I'm not comfortable with. I kind of know how to research the area to see what the crime rate is. I look at all those factors before I choose a neighborhood to stealth camp at. Another fear that I've had was traveling down south. Being a woman from the Midwest, St. Louis and Minnesota, being a woman from the Midwest, going down south, to me, solo black female, it was scary to me, only because of the stories you hear down south with racism, issues like that, and even within our own community, crime. So I was definitely afraid, like, oh man, am I gonna be in a town where there are racist people there that don't like people that look like me, or am I gonna be in a impoverished area, or so. But you do your research, and you do your research. I've been to Louisiana, I've been to North Carolina, I've been to Virginia, I've been to Maryland, I've been to Mississippi, Tennessee. I've been all down south, and everything worked out just fine. I survived. I didn't have not one issue down there. Not one. I was smart about it. I think I was too. Yeah. But it's just about combating those fears. So another fear that some of you had left on responded to was the fear of a major vehicle breakdown. And yeah, that's a legitimate fear to have, and it's a good fear to have, because now it tells you have to make sure that you have a plan set in place in case that happens. So, and I can only tell you what I do, based off my experience, because I've had a similar fear as well. And what I did was, one, keep up with the maintenance of your vehicle. Keep your oil changed, your filters changed, keep up with your tires, your fluids. Keep up with just the regular maintenance of your vehicle. When you do that, if you I take my vehicle to Valvoline oil, instant oil change. Them are the only people that I allow to touch my oil. And no matter where I go in the United States of America or at a Valvoline oil change, they can look up my information and they have everything they need on my car. So with that being said, by keeping certain mechanics and certain things like that and getting your car checked regularly, it it has the potential to catch something that could possibly happen in the future, a major breakdown. Also, in order to combat that fear that I had, I made sure I got some type of roadside assistance. I decided to go with AAA. The other fear that I had, I mean, these are fears and that I actually had before going full time into van life. So the other one was, well, what if my battery dies and I can't start my car and I'm somewhere, and what if that happens, because that could very much happen. So I decided to purchase me a battery starter for my car. And I kind of showed you guys that in one of my previous videos. I'll put the link down below. But I used I think it's a NOCO battery starter for my car. And I have had to use that. Now, the only thing that I don't have for my vehicle is if I get a flat tire, I don't have any way to put air in my tire to get to the closest gas station or anything like that. But I do have AAA, so that is an option. Now, the only factor that you have to think about when coming up with breakdown plans is try to limit your time that you are in an area if you are unsure about the mechanics or the mechanical operations of your vehicle, making sure that you're not camping somewhere where you don't have cell service, because that definitely would not be a good thing. Or even if you don't have cell service, don't be the only one out there by yourself. So I pay attention to those things as well to combat that fear. Now, I will say van life is not for everybody. It's not, it's a lifestyle, yes, but it's not for everybody. And so it's not like, I don't want people to think that I'm here to persuade you or to glamorize this life, because this life sorry, y'all. I get scared of these bugs, y'all. See what I'm saying? That's that fear, but I be out here anyways. I be out here. Oh, I'm just playing. But what I was going to say was, oh my goodness. Yeah, I'm not here to persuade anyone to do this life. It's not for everybody. And I understand that, So even with some of these things that I'm talking about, if it's something that you have in your life that you want to do, maybe it's a fear of going back to school, or maybe it's a fear of sitting down and writing that short story or that book that you wanted to write. Maybe it's a fear of taking the first step to being an entrepreneur, because being an entrepreneur is another whole ball game. But it's not an easy job at the beginning stages of it, but it's definitely rewarding in the end. But we're not here to talk about entrepreneurship today, okay? Because I'm still trying to figure mine out. But you can apply it to anything that you really want to do, but you're afraid to do. So I would say, grab you. I love to write, y'all. It just helps me think better. So I have a 1,000,001 notebooks with notes, and I doodle all the time, which is why I decided to start creating no content journals and notebooks. You can see it on my website at www.AbiyahBina.com. Because I write a lot. So, but I would say take some paper and pen, write down what it is that you want to do, and write down those fears that are attached to that goal. And then, and figure out how to combat that fear. What can you do to combat that fear? For example, maybe you want to go vanning. Maybe you want to do the van life. Okay? It's, and you see people like me that just jumped in there quit her job. I don't know, y'all. Quit her job, jumped in there, went full time, you know what I'm saying? But before I went full time, I was part time, because I did have a lot of fears. I was afraid I would invest all this money into this lifestyle and I wouldn't like it, and then it'd be a waste of money. I was afraid that maybe in the long run, I won't be able to deal with being out in the weather elements and with the bugs, So I started going part-time. And that's how I realized, you know what? I can do this. I totally got this. I got this. You know what I'm saying? Got this damn. Yeah, so, fear is good. Treat your fear as something good, something beneficial for you, something that you have to figure out a way to deal with that fear to accomplish your goals. And no matter what that goal is, you can do it. You can. Now, I'm going to do another video, so there will be a part 2, because I do have a few other topics that I do want to discuss from your responses. But however, I do want to just touch base on people who are disabled, or a person that has a disability, and I am going to just straight out say that I don't have any experience or knowledge on that aspect of the person's physical health when it comes to van life. So I'm not going to really speak on that. However, I will say that this lifestyle does take a lot of mobility, a lot of moving, lifting, bending. You will be exposed to extreme temperatures. Maybe it's too hot, maybe it's too cold. So, I'm just going to leave it at that, because I don't really have the knowledge to try to justify this lifestyle for someone who may not be physically able to do it. How I will add to that even if it is not this lifestyle, being outside, getting your vitamin D from the sun is great. Going out, in the morning, having your cup of coffee outside to listen to the birds. If you have a screened-in porch or anything where you live at, being out there, sipping your tea or your coffee or your favorite book, or writing or knitting or whatever it is that you do while it's raining outside and you got a gust of wind coming through, just kissing your skin, and the sound of the rain just soothes your soul. There's all different types of ways to gain a natural sense of peace from nature, even if you're not able to be out here like this, okay? So, I don't know, y'all. I'm just me, y'all. I'm just like, it's been almost a year, guys. In a few months, it'll be a year since I've been full-time. And I'm going to tell you, straight up, it is a lot of work. It does cost money, but I enjoy it so much. And there does come a time where I think, like, do I want to go get an apartment? Do I want to go do this? And I was like, and every time I think about that, I'd be like, what if I get an apartment, then I won't be able to travel because I'll be stuck. And I don't want that right now. I don't want it. So, yeah. So anyways, I do have some things to figure out regarding my next move. What am I going to do with this lifestyle, with vanning, with gas? Or how can I figure out a way to increase my income to where I can continue to travel in North America before the gas prices went up and just I say all United States should go on strike. We shouldn't drive to work. None of that. We should just park our cars, stay at home, and wait and tell them to fix this, because this is ridiculous. Anyways, that's just a personal opinion of mine. You know what I'm saying? Anyways, so, but I am just really glad just to share that with you guys. So, oh, I'd be scared of everything, y'all. Fear is not the same thing as scare, okay? Oh, okay. So one more thing about fear. Oh, and when you can kind of put the intuition right with fear, because I remember that time. It was in Missouri. I don't remember, when was that? Was it in the fall? I don't remember. But I was looking for a new place in Missouri. It was sometime last year though. But I was looking for a new place to camp at in Missouri. And I was going to go check out this place that I saw, because it looked good from the reviews and everything else. It was out in the woods. It was out in the back country, okay? And I went there and I kept driving, and it was like I didn't see any houses, any cars, anything. And it was way back. And of course I don't have cell service now. And my intuition, my instincts just immediately was like, this is not the place for you, girl. This is not the place. Get out of here, turn around, because it's about to be dark soon, so you can get out of this area before it gets dark. And I listened to myself. So I got out of there. My intuitions told me to get out of there, and I listened. I didn't second guess myself at all. Now that is not a fear. That's a safety mechanism. It's your inner self, your angel, your guardian angel, whatever you want to call it to be, telling you that you're not going to be safe here. Something may happen, something might happen, or whatever the case may be, okay? So listening to your intuitions is also a good thing to have as well. Never second guess yourself. So with that said, guys, I will see you on the next video.